James Mieding, his mom Robin, and younger brother Jacob prepare dinner for guests at their home in Bullhead City. They're a close-knit family. James, now a successful attorney turned software developer, was homeschooled by his mom.
Your mom said to say what you made?
And it was early in his junior year that James' mother told him about something he'd never heard of, the Washington Youth Tour, a competition sponsored by Mohave Electric Cooperative designed to send students to the nation's capital.
And I said, no, I don't want to do it. I felt I was really busy. I was a junior in high school. I was thinking about colleges, college applications, and did not want to add one more thing to my plate, especially when it wasn't going to affect my grades or completing assignments.
But his mom insisted, and
thank God she did that, because it turned out to be a fantastic experience for me.
America's rural electric cooperatives have been hosting the Washington Youth Tour since the early 60s and have sent more than 50,000 students from rural areas across the nation for an experience many of them would never have otherwise. The competition varies, but most cooperatives require students to submit an essay and learn the basics about the nation's rural, not-for-profit electric cooperatives.
The process was you needed to submit an essay about a number of different topics. The topic that I chose was why Bullhead City would be a good choice for an investor, and then submitted the essay. We also had to do some research on how co-ops worked, and then the five finalists were selected to present their essay as a speech to a number of people in the community, including some of the folks that were on the board of the co-op.
He didn't know it at the time, but two things were about to happen that would change his life, starting with the speech and debate coach who was in the audience that day.
He was coaching through how do you grade the speakers, etc., and he just got to see me present, and he said, are you on the team? And I said no, and he said, well, if you want to come try out, we'd love to have you come try out.
To understand why this was so important, rewind to September 11th, 2001, when the World Trade Center towers were attacked.
And as the story came out, just this, I think like a lot of Americans, just this kind of indignation about that our homeland had been attacked. And I felt like, well, we need to go get the bad guys. And so I was really interested in going into the military. And then going through speech and debate made me realize that maybe that wasn't the best place to use my skill set.
The second thing that would change his life and set him on a different path was soon to come. Shortly after delivering his speech, Mieding was chosen as one of the Washington Youth Tour winners, and in June of that year, he was headed to Washington, D.C., along with thousands of other high school students from around the country. It literally opened his mind to possibilities he never imagined.
In the first case, because you realize, oh, there's all these other kids just like me from rural areas across the state who are literally just like me, and you just never think about that. You think about yourself as this little microcosm, and then there's Phoenix, and that's it.
But he quickly learned that wasn't it. His world opened up the moment he stepped off the plane, and the memories are still vivid.
One of the highlights for me was looking at the World War II monument, which is this gorgeous structure that had been recently completed, if I remember correctly, at the time that I went. And kind of the pinnacle of it is this section where you have this wall of gold stars, and each gold star represents 100 American lives that were lost in World War II. And you have over several 100,000 lives, represented in this one section. And as a kid in high school who'd never been in military service, obviously, my grandfather had been in military service, but I'd never really viscerally understood what that meant or what World War II meant for our country. And at that moment, I kind of understood emotionally, oh, this is what was required to protect freedom. And that was kind of the biggest aha moment of the trip for myself.
Then there was the Holocaust Museum, which had a lasting impact.
There's one room in there that really sticks out to me where there's nothing but shoes in the whole hallway. And it's just representing all of the different lives that were lost. What some have had to suffer and endure is just beyond my own comprehension. And I think it just gives you an appreciation for what you have, and also just an understanding or an empathy for people who have had to live through things that you haven't.
And the Lincoln Memorial.
There's the Gettysburg Address that's just etched into the wall on there, and you're just reading that, and then you're looking out over the mall and you see the Washington Monument in the background. Martin Luther King stood on the steps of the Lincoln Monument that was there. He was having his rally in DC.
Mieding, who now lives in Texas, took time to meet with Mohave Electric Cooperative CEO Tyler Carlson during a recent visit to Bullhead City to reminisce with Carlson and to tell him how the co-op sponsored program literally changed his life, something Carlson has heard many times.
Since I've been here, we've watched kids that have come through, they've been able to go on the Washington Youth Tour. It's changed their lives in a lot of ways. It's opened up their eyes to what happens outside of the community. It opens up their eyes about possibilities, career possibilities. It gets them interested. We've seen kids that have changed their whole outlook on life on the Washington Youth Tour and in life, specifically by the Washington Youth Tour.
Carlson points out those experiences benefit the rural communities that sponsor the Washington Youth Tour participants.
It really does help us all by having the local rural communities be able to see what happens in a political environment and see what happens in the political environment, the big show back in Washington.
The Washington Youth Tour and his experience with Mohave Electric Cooperative gave Mieding an outlook on life that stays with him to this very day.
The best parts about America have nothing to do with politics. They have to do with normal people living their day-to-day lives, going to work, taking care of their family, spending time with their friends. That's what our founders believed, and that's what I believe as well. And so no matter how tense or fractured our political system is, I'm always optimistic about America as a whole. Just do it. Get outside of your comfort zone. You're not going to want to write an extra essay or do whatever your local co-op is asking you to do, but it's absolutely worth your time to go ahead and apply and just be part of the process.